You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So over this past week, many of you heard of Listeria being behind a recall of ice cream, a recall of spinach. I'll talk to you about those. Also, apparently, it might be affecting certain brands of animal food, pet food. So let me tell you about what we're seeing now. But Viva Raw, located in North Carolina, has recalled 5 turkey-based cat and dog food products over risk of bacterial contamination, according to the FDA. Affected products were distributed to pet owners in all 50 states. Now, I don't feed my dog and cat that, but I think that's kind of fancy food. I try to give them science diet, which, by the way, is expensive. Pet food is expensive. It has gotten really bad too. We talk about groceries. I want to do a little research on what people are doing in terms of feeding their animals when it's. I think a lot of people are giving their animals table scraps, which is not the healthiest thing to do. But going back to this Listeria, the FDA warned that Listeria can cause serious and sometimes fatal infections in pets. Humans also can be exposed and get Listeria infections. So Viva Raw recalled its Viva Turkey for dogs ground, Viva Turkey for dogs chunked, Viva Turkey for cats, Viva Pure Turkey, and Viva Beef and Turkey for puppies. The Listeria monocytogenes bacteria can cause some severe illness, if not death, for our pets, kids. And apparently these are foods that you could cook up and give to your animals. Infected animals could show symptoms of diarrhea, anorexia, fever, nervousness, muscular respiratory issues, miscarriage, depression, shock, and death. So if you do buy Viva for your puppies and cats, and, you know, it's nice you spoil them, but boy, really, that looks fancy. That looks like fancy food. Please don't tell my pets, because they're going to think I buy them the meat bits, Purina, or the Friskies cans, and the pate, and then the chow, and then the Purina cat chow. I have all sorts of different animal food, and the dog eats the cat food, and the cats eat the dog food. But I haven't really bought them this fancy stuff. So make sure you check that out. All right, in terms of spinach, there have been 40 types of spinach products recalled due to traces of deadly Listeria. A New York company has had to recall 40 types of bagged spinach. Solata Foods, LLC of Newburgh, operates several different brands of produce. They had to issue a recall, and a lot of us get our spinach from bagged spinach, box spinach. I learned my lesson buying regular spinach, how difficult it is to clean it off. No matter how much you wash it, it still feels like there's still that dirt and that. So I just buy the pre-washed spinach. Well, the batch was sold as spinach and salad mixes in various sizes across various brand names, such as Solata, Gaia, Uncle Vinny's, Full Circle, Bagopa, Farmer Direct, and more. So you might want to look up your packages. Potentially contaminated greens have lot numbers of 40606 and 11006. Expires June 20th, June 24. If you're like me with my family, the vegetables seem to sit the longest. So we have vegetables from a week or two old still in the refrigerator. Throw them out because, unfortunately, the deadly bacteria was found in a 9-ounce package of Bagopa fresh spinach. And so no illnesses, thank God, have been reported, but obviously Listeria, pretty scary, as we remember from the 2012 outbreak. Also, ice cream products have had to be recalled. Last week, we were told that there were Listeria concerns, and Totally Cool Inc. of Owings Mills, Maryland, had to issue a recall for multiple brands of ice cream. Why? Because they could have been contaminated with Listeria monocytogenes. Fever, headache, stiffness, nausea, abdominal pain, diarrhea could be some of the symptoms. Pregnant women could experience miscarriage, stillbirth, and people could sadly seize, go into a coma, and die. So ice cream products included some of the Friendlies, Abbey Frozen Bakery, some of Hershey's ice cream, Yellow, Jenny's, Cumberland Farms, The Frozen Farmer, Marco, Chipwich, AMA Fruits, Taharka, Dolcezza Gelato, LaSalle. So check what you have. Again, listeria, if you kind of notice, this seems to be the time of year. Even though listeria outbreaks could happen throughout the year, if you think back to 2012, when we had, sadly, multiple people affected, and it was one of the deadliest, I guess, in history. It was directly caused by cantaloupe. I think it started in the spring of 2012, and then I think it went through August. That's pretty frightening. Actually, I think it started in 2011. Yeah, I think it started in 2011, but there was a lot of, by March of, I guess, 2012 is when we started to be aware of it. So any time of year it could happen, but I notice we get more of it in the summer. Is it because things sit out? Is it because a lot of the foods that we use in the summer are not necessarily cooked, whereas in the winter we do more cooking, comfort food, more baking, whereas in the summer it's let's just go to the produce. And now, like me, I just had like a whole bag of grapes. I didn't wash them off. I thought they looked pre-washed, but I probably should have washed them. Why? Because it was hot outside, and I'm like, I want something cool and refreshing. So summertime could sadly be a time where we are a little bit more vulnerable to foodborne illness because we have the barbecues and the people bringing their potato salad and salad type foods and ambrosia. Whereas wintertime, it's more about the turkey and the mashed potatoes and the more cooked things. So just kind of be aware of that. And understand that what's also very scary about listeria is you could get symptoms weeks after. And so you might not even remember what you ate 2 weeks ago. So if at all you're feeling ill, get yourself checked out. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Jason, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, on X, Dr. Daliah Show, Facebook, Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So Hurricane Beryl still remains a Category 5 storm with winds at 200 miles per hour. And as it kind of races across the Caribbean, it's supposed to be fast moving. What makes this so historic is, one, is its speed, but two, this is, I think, the earliest in the season where we've seen a Category 5. Usually we don't see that till August, September during peak hurricane season. This grew in June. And here we are, early July. Beryl's a beast. It has set the record for being the strongest Atlantic storm this early in the hurricane season. As of 11 a.m. today, the National Hurricane Center shows Beryl is still Category 5. Winds of 160 miles per hour, gusting to 200 miles per hour. They says the second July storm to ever reach Category 5 status. Hurricane Emily in 2005 had the previous record of earliest hurricane to reach Category 5 status July 15th or July 17th in 2005. Now, what I don't like about that record is Hurricane Emily in 2005 portended a very active hurricane season. What happened in 2005? That's when we had Hurricane Katrina. And so my worry is, if we've already had a Category 5 this early, are we going to be looking at another 2005 or other years where we get hit with some very, very severe storms? Now, the speed at Beryl is now at about 22 miles per hour west-northwest. They say it's strengthening. Obviously, low wind shear, record warm water temperatures for early July. And that's another reason why we don't usually see the big hurricanes this early, is it takes a while for the waters to warm. That's why August and September is peak, because they've had all summer to heat up. Well, with this, did they heat up that quickly in June? So it is concerning. Storm made landfall on Curacao Island with the 150 mile per hour winds. That was at about a Category 4. It is forecast to remain still a 4 or 5 storm. There should be some weakening tomorrow, but it will hit as it goes across the Gulf. It was supposed to hit Central America, maybe northern Mexico. There's a chance there could be some of the remnants hitting southern Texas. And then another concern we also have is it going to re-strengthen in the Gulf or shift and go more northward to hit Galveston, Houston, Louisiana, etc. So right now it's planning on moving towards the Yucatan Peninsula by the weekend, then into the Gulf of Mexico, and then move into the southwestern Gulf early next week. The Gulf is an opportunity for some of these to strengthen, not just weaken, but strengthen. This is what we saw with Hurricane Katrina. Back in 2005, it got to brew, build up in the Gulf, and then it became a Category 5. By the time it hit land, it was a Category 3, but you saw the damage, killing thousands of people, causing billions of damage in New Orleans, Louisiana, and other Gulf states. So we'll keep you posted. This is not a good sign. We knew that this was going to be a very active season predicted by University of Colorado researchers in April. I'd love for them to be wrong, but so far it doesn't look it. Now, also, we are on alert for wildfires. We're watching wildfires that are happening in California. California has a heat wave, and I believe they're already talking about blackouts to shut off power to prevent wildfire risk. Heading into the July 4th holiday, they are expecting intense heat as well as gusty winds across California. And meanwhile, there's been multiple wildfires that are already burning near San Diego, Inland Empire, etc. And so we're concerned about these dangerous long duration heat waves and what could happen in terms of wildfires. So the National Weather Service has issued excessive heat warnings, advisories for the Golden State. I am sure also the southern, southwest United States, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, also going to be getting warnings. We'll keep you posted on those. But, not good. It's interesting. 4th of July, I love the 4th of July. I love Independence Day, one of my favorite holidays. Christmas is still number one, but 4th of July, I love it. And 4th of July, because it gets dark so late, we usually don't really celebrate it till nighttime. And so when you're in the southern states, you're kind of indoors the whole time. Independence Day, you want to have barbecues, but it's been getting hotter. And I'm noticing there's fewer 4th of July parties until it's nighttime. And by then, it's kind of difficult because for those of us that have to work the next day, luckily with this, you can make it a 4-day weekend. And already a good portion of America doesn't work on Fridays. I'm planning on working on Friday. But, it's usually you can't really do much until the night. And it's still hot. And so I want to warn you all that if there is a event, and to still watch the temperatures at night, you can still get heat illness even at night. It's way better than daytime because boy, does it get hot with the sun. But keep in mind, it still could be too hot for people, especially if you're drinking alcohol, which is a really bad mix. Now, we do have some breaking news. This is horrible. At least 87 people are feared dead after a stampede at a religious event in India. Something panicked somebody, and all of a sudden, people started running. They don't know what they were running from, and unfortunately, it killed 87 people, maybe more. The stampede happened in a village in the Hathras district, which is about 125 miles southeast from the national capital, New Delhi. A large crowd was there, I believe, for a religious gathering in an open area. There was a local religious leader that called them there. They got together. And then, unfortunately, there was some sort of panic. I'm trying to watch the videos. I can't see how it all started. But you start seeing a bunch of bodies. There's been 60 already, I guess, identified, but they think the toll is even higher. And they said there was overcrowding at the time. And when people tried to leave the venue, they ran over other people. An unidentified witness told broadcaster India Today that there was a narrow exit at the venue. As we tried to exit towards a field, there was a commotion. We didn't know what to do. And Uttar Pradesh is India's most populous state. There's 200 million people. And so there's rescue operations going on right now. But, the stampede, the psychology behind a stampede is very scary. And, you'll see these events where it's peaceful and people are there to show love and whatever. And then all of a sudden fear sets in. And it's every person for themselves. I'm not saying that's what happened particularly here, but this is what happens with these stampede mentalities. And look at what happened with Walmart. And didn't a security guard get crushed to death because of a Black Friday? They opened the doors and everybody was running and they just didn't care. Yeah, I always thought everybody cares for their fellow man and fellow woman and they're there. And no, they don't. They don't. Some do. But it's I need to get where I need to go. And maybe it's survival instinct. If you're nice and you're holding the door open for somebody, then, and I get it. We live in a society right now where there could be a mass shooting at any time. There could be, space debris falling at you. There could be some natural disaster. I get that we're very uneasy. But unfortunately, we need to have that planning. That if we're going to gather, we have a place where people could go. And look at what happened with the October 7th massacre. Some of the Hamas militants dressed up as Israeli police. So when people ran to the police for help, they got gunned down. Our plannings needs to be tightened up because sadly we're seeing deaths that should never happen. And we don't want people to be afraid of crowds. The Harvest Festival that happened in Las Vegas when the shooting happened. October 1st, 2017. Now, people, it was, again, something like that should have never happened, and it's so tragic. And, people were telling me I'm never going to go to a concert. And I get, people are traumatized. I understand that fear. But, America and our right to peaceful assembly, we want to assemble. We want to hear music. It's 4th of July. I want to hear somebody sing the Star Spangled Banner. I gave you guys tips on YouTube for those of you that want to stand up and take the mic. We all could sing the Star Spangled Banner. I know it's a difficult song, but I want us to be able to be in groups. But unfortunately, you got to understand, people will, every person for themselves. It's sad. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOCDALI. So last year, actor Jamie Foxx, Academy Award winner, I think Grammy winner, he has been a icon in Hollywood, had suffered a very severe medical event. And there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of guessing. Well, interestingly, outside of a restaurant, he was caught filmed by a physician, it looks like, talking about his medical event. It was really, really cool. He was talking to fans about what happened to him. He still hasn't disclosed what his medical condition was, even though many of us have assumed it was probably something similar to a stroke. He still deserves his privacy, and he hasn't necessarily said what that was. And even to the person videotaping him, said he didn't necessarily want to say what it was, but he was very open about what had happened. So apparently while he was, I think he's filming, at the time he was filming Back in Action, he was 55 years old at the time. Now he's 56. His birthday's in December, I believe. He had suffered a pretty bad headache. He said he asked his friend for an Advil, and then he doesn't remember anything, and he woke up 20 days later. Really bad headache, and then woke up 20 days later. Now, Mike Tyson had talked about how he had a stroke, and we knew from his family that he had been in rehab to go through occupational and physical rehab after, and so obviously that's a concern, and we've spoken a lot about that, which I will. But how frightening, and this was a near-death experience for him to have a bad headache, and then he said he was gone for 20 days. He was cared for in an Atlanta hospital. He said the doctor said there was something going on up there. But again, he didn't want to disclose the medical condition. Mike Tyson last year on the PBD podcast had said, when he was saying how Jamie Foxx is doing, he said he's not feeling well. They said a stroke. I have no idea what happened to him. So that doesn't necessarily mean he had it, but it brings up the conversation of what sort of things could have done that, and what do you need to be aware of? Because unfortunately, I think what is the statistic? Every 40 seconds, somebody has a stroke. And I'm not saying that's what happened to Jamie Foxx, but it definitely allows us to have conversations about medical events that cause you to have amnesia or lose consciousness, or to not be able to, live 20 days of your life. And thank God he recovered. And another thing that really bothers people about what happened with Jamie Foxx is, he looks like he's pretty fit. I mean, he takes care of himself, it appears, and he's in good shape, and he has access to some of the best medical care. So when something like this happens to a star that you love, it's not easy to watch. And so, what else could it be if it isn't a stroke? Well, a sudden headache, and then being unconscious for 20 days. Now, he still could have had consciousness. A lot of times we're conscious, but we don't necessarily remember it. So we don't know his full medical history. But a horrible acute onset headache, we always have to rule out stroke. 2 types of stroke. You got the bleed and you got the clot. The bleed is less common, but it could also be very, very dangerous. Where a blood vessel breaks, it could manifest as a bad headache. We've spoken about the symptoms, and we're going to review the symptoms of stroke with facial droop and loss of balance, and et cetera. We're going to talk about that, loss of speech. But oftentimes a severe headache. And I get very nervous because people will call up telemedicine saying, I have a really, really bad headache. This is the worst headache. I need migraine medicine. And I've had migraines. I get you. Migraines hurt. But how do I know this isn't a stroke or a mini stroke, a transient ischemic attack? You're having a very bad acute onset headache. That needs to be looked at. Could it be because of high blood pressure? Could it be because of stress? Could you have had like an aneurysm or a little ballooning of your vessel that burst? The more common cause of strokes are blood clots. And again, could be very quick. Where the clot goes up, cuts off part of the blood flow to the brain. That's really what a stroke is. A stroke is an infarct of the brain. It's like a heart attack of the brain where there's lack of blood flow. The lack of blood flow because you're bleeding around the brain, so the vessel that's supposed to feed the brain is not doing it. Or it could be because there's a clot preventing the blood flow to that part of the brain. And so with the clot, our goal is to dissipate that clot, break it up to get that blood flow preserved. And seconds count. And so, as I said, every 40 seconds, somebody is having a stroke. Every 3 minutes and 14 seconds, somebody dies from a stroke. Over 800,000 people in the United States each year have one. 610,000 of these, it's their first time. So that's pretty common. And so 80% of strokes are the blood clot, ischemic strokes. Plaques can arise in your carotids, other areas, and then they can break apart, float up to the brain. It can also be embolisms of, it could be air, fat. This is why we panic when people do cosmetic procedures in people's garages, because when something gets into the blood system and you're accessing vessels, unfortunately that could travel and end up in the brain. So what are the signs of it? Well, weakness on one side of the body, loss of balance, numbness, slurred speech, difficulty speaking, vision issues, severe headache, facial droop, loss of consciousness, loss of memory. And so if it's a clot, an ischemic stroke, we'll give you aspirin, tissue plasminogen activator, TPA. We may remove the clots. We're going to use other things to help dissolve, remove the clot, and try to get that blood flow right away. With a hemorrhage, we need to stop the bleed. So we need to control the bleed, bypass the vessel. We might coil endovascular embolize. There's a lot of different techniques we could use, but it's something that is of the essence. We don't want to mess around. If at all we're thinking that you have a stroke, you have got to get medical attention immediately. Time is of the essence. Every second your brain doesn't have oxygen, your damage can be more and more permanent, if not lethal. And so FAST is the acronym we want you to remember. FAST is for facial drooping, A for arm weakness, speech difficulty, and T means time to call 911. There's also B FAST, which also includes balance and eye changes like vision issues. FASTER is another acronym for face, arm, stability, talking, eyes, and react. R means react to call 911. Now, I know a lot of you would be like, I don't remember these. Just, something doesn't seem right, call 911. Okay, if you don't remember the acronym, the facial drooping, the balance, the weakness, it was interesting. A husband diagnosed stroke in his wife because when she texted him, it was garbled. Now, sometimes my husband asks me a stupid question, right? And I don't want to do a full sentence, and I might not want to do my spell check. And so I'll just answer him back quickly. Look, I'm in a hurry or I'm on air. Here's your answer. But watch your texts from family members, because if you're not necessarily talking to them or looking at them face to face and you can't see, if they might not communicate well, thank God they texted each other and he called 911 because, she was obviously alone at the time and could have sadly suffered from that. So what are risk factors to stroke? What put us at risk? Well, high blood pressure, family history of stroke, if you have diabetes, cardiovascular disease, because with cardiovascular disease, if you're having artery clogging in the heart, you could also have cardiovascular disease in your other vessels, which could then later affect the brain. Abnormal heart rhythm. We speak about atrial fibrillation and how rather than your heart pumping, it's more boop, 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 because the electricity is not going through the heart rhythmically. And so when your heart just kind of bobs around, the blood slushes around. And when the blood slushes, it coagulates. And then finally, when you do get a pump, that clot can then go up to the brain. So if you have an abnormal heart rhythm, rapid heart race, dizziness, get that checked out. Other risk factors for stroke include smoking, drugs, obesity, inactivity, a clotting disorder, sleep apnea, being over 55, African American, men more than women, but still women can have it, and inflammatory bowel disease. So get yourself checked out. Make sure you do your regular health checks with your medical provider. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we are being told that the first of the Democratic politicians has, on the record, said that they want Biden to drop out. I mean, we've heard from Republicans, but this is the first Democrat. Very gutsy for Democrat politicians to go against the primary results, especially with the Democratic National Convention coming up. But Texas Democrat Representative Lloyd Doggett has called for President Joe Biden to withdraw from the race. This happened today. He is the first sitting Democrat to demand that Biden steps aside, being reported by Daily Mail. He says he represents the heart of a congressional district once represented by Lyndon Johnson. Under very different circumstances, he made the painful decision to withdraw. President Biden should do the same. While much of his work has been transformational, he pledged to be transitional. And he says he has the opportunity to encourage a new generation of leaders from whom a nominee can be chosen to unite our country through an open democratic process. He said, my decision, looks like I just had a little blip of this. Anyway, now here's the only thing. In terms of the Democrat saying that, he should step aside, he said, my decision to make these strong reservations public is not done lightly, nor does it in any way diminish my respect for all that President Biden has achieved. He said, recognizing that, unlike Trump, President Biden's first commitment has always been to our country, he says, not himself. I am hopeful that he will make the painful and difficult decision to withdraw. I respectfully call on him to do so. So, the thing that makes this very difficult for the Democrats is the American public spoke. Now, maybe they weren't given a choice, but the Democratic primaries that took place gave voters options. Now, the voters might not have thought they were the options they wanted. Maybe they wanted Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama or Hillary Clinton or, I don't know, Elizabeth Warren or, I don't know, Kamala Harris. But they chose Biden. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the convention in August. If the American people voted for Biden, even though I think a lot of Democrats feel that, I'm talking about the Democrat primary votes, if they're going to be okay with there being a random switch without them getting to vote again. See, this is kind of not really been done before. We have a president where we have said, look, he's not ready. He's not, he's done. He's had an amazing career in politics, but not necessarily the most effective commander in chief. And the Democratic voters didn't really get many other choices. And some tried, RFK Jr. being an independent and, pulling some of the votes. But he wasn't really running as a Democrat. He was running as an independent. So I don't know how easily they're going to be able to do that. I told you what I predict is going to happen is he would, to end his career with a bang, resign to let Kamala become the first female president so he could get credit for that. Where he says, look, I gave you guys the first female president. So in history, rather than people saying I bedwetted and I pooped myself and I did that, I am not resigning because of that. I am resigning because I want to give you guys the first female president. Now, I don't know if anybody's going to believe that. I don't think that people are going to want that. But I had predicted that that would be his move because I just don't see him leaving office with his tail between his legs. His dog's commander and major running after him like they ran after the Secret Service agents. And so, but to start hearing Democrats speak up, and it takes a lot of guts to go against the grain. But again, he's in Texas. And so he, is he doing the right thing for his party? Is he doing the right thing for the country? Yes. I mean, the country has to come first. Trust me, Republicans are very concerned about Trump running against anybody else. Trump will win if he runs against Biden, assuming that everything is legit and there's no cheating with the election. But if they put up somebody else, Trump has a tougher run. And it's really, really late in the game. So we'll keep you guys posted. That was some breaking news. But I just want, as a physician, Biden getting the help he needs. If he is not being treated for cognitive issues because they're afraid that he wouldn't be able to keep his office, that harms him. It harms the country and it harms him. And I want him getting the care he needs. Now, another very interesting headline is a tractor supply company is now backtracking on DEI initiatives because they, quote unquote, faced disappointment from their customer base. Now, the retailer has 2,400 stores. It's called Tractor Supply Company. And they said they are eliminating their diversity, equity, and inclusion policies because they took feedback from customers to heart. They are going to end their sponsorship of pride festivals and voting campaigns, alongside cutting all internal DEI roles and goals. Now, that is a very, very interesting move. As you saw what happened with Bud Light, and, even though that campaign might have originally just been to show support of the transgender community, it took such a turn that, the phrase "go woke, go broke," started to really manifest. And, and so I've always felt that, companies need to be neutral. If there's wrongdoing, like the Hamas attack, and we have American hostages, and you want to show support to get our hostages back and to end terrorism, I get that. And I support that, because we still have hostages. You want to bring Americans home. You want to be pro-America. I get that. But now, people are being accused of, if you have an American flag, well, that means you're Republican. And then you're anti this. And then no, you're not. If you have an American flag, you're American. We cannot be a country where we're afraid to have our own flag. And so when it comes to, elections, and when it comes to, it starts to, people were being canceled for not showing. Look at what happened with Disney. Disney originally said, look, I'm not getting involved with sex ed in the schools. If Florida doesn't want to do sex ed at third grade and wants to wait till they're older than third grade, we don't get involved. Well, apparently their employees said they're going to walk out. So all of a sudden Disney got involved, and it was a mess. But the first stance was right. Like, we can't get involved. The company doesn't have time to get involved with all the nooks and crannies of all the little laws and issues with every, And I understand people say, well, I only want to shop if they believe in this. Okay, we should shop where the product is good. If the product is a good product, if it's safe, that's what the customers need to, and if it's reasonably priced, that's what's supposed to drive consumers. Somehow we got mixed in throwing politics in there. I know many people in the LGBTQ AI plus community, they don't necessarily want to hear that somebody says, I support your lifestyle. The more we make it a thing, the less it allows them to be, equal in society. And so, bringing up somebody's sexual preference, or that could also rub people the wrong way. So does a company need to say, we support who you love? You could love a man, woman. Is that necessary? It's not saying anything, meaning you are, we're open to all customers. And so I get why consumers are like, they're that they want the priorities to be more on the product. Now, I support LGBTQ AI plus community, having family members in it. But some of these companies, they have to decide what they're going to focus on. 1-877-Doc-Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.